You are watching UCU Focus TV.
Hi and welcome to Focus Sports. My name is Okurut-Timothy, and of course today I have a very huge panel. We're going to be discussing matters sports, right from the Canons and the Cardinals here at home onto the national scene. Of course, Micho has just been sacked. We'll be looking at that, and of course we'll cross over to some of your games in Europe and see some of the results that made headlines across the weekend. To discuss that and more, I am joined by the Deputy Speaker of the 25th Guild Government, and of course, who also doubles as the Public Relations Officer of the Cardinals. Edonu, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Timothy.
And I'm also joined by the producer of the show, a graphics designer and a multimedia sports journalist, CEO of Okurut-Host on YouTube, Ronald Ocweo. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Timothy, and thanks for having me once again.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to start from home here with the Canons. Edonu, you give public relations service to the school teams, the Cardinals, both the men and the women's side. There's been a bit of build-up towards the season that's coming. Could you please give us a dive into what has been happening in the camp?
All right, thank you so much. First and foremost, I'm so happy to be here. I'm delighted to be in this show today. And I work as the media officer for the UCU Cardinals team. So that's both the gents and the ladies. And just to take you briefly through our preparations, we have been gearing up for a couple of activities that are set to happen. And in particular, this week, we'll be going in for the season of the University Football League. And UCU is grouped with Kumi University, together with Boostema, among others. So the preparations have been ongoing. We've been having a couple of games here and there. We had a friendly with Chambogo, and that game ended in a 1-1 draw. Then we also hosted Kitara, and that game also ended in defeat. We lost 2-1. However, a couple of games, and the boys, the mood in the camp is so high, and we are all gearing up for the game on Thursday as we go away to Kumi.
All right, so let's head over to the Canons. Most of the members of the guild government were out on YMC over the weekend to go and support the teams. Just give us a brief on some of those results and how the atmosphere was at YMC.
I must say it was everyone felt so nervous because looking at the table standing as before that game, we were in the line, we were 11th, and that meant if we had lost that game, we were going to be relegated. So we had to try as much as we could to rally funds to ensure that we go and give moral support to the boys and ensure that at least we secure a spot in the regular season. Of course, that win meant a lot for us, that it was able to push us to the playoffs. And we just keep on hoping for the best. We keep on encouraging the boys and asking all our fans outside there, both at campus and outside campus, to come and rally behind the boys, see to it that at least to reach to the next level.
All right, Ronald, I'd like to come to you. We, of course, saw the results that the Canons were able to put up on the weekend. And first of all, how did we get to this point? Because usually our Canon side was not seen battling relegation places and failing to get to the playoffs, but we had that scare. And now they head over in that kind of posture to the knockout stages, and they're facing a certain Namungo Blazers that were actually at the finals. How do you think, are they going to be able to pull off the strides, and how can they be better prepared for that?
Well, for starters, the Canons in the previous seasons have been a dominant team in the Uganda Basketball League. Yeah. And of course, when teams are dominant in the league, they have a couple of players here and there that make that, that ideal. So for Canons, prior to this season, they had a couple of key players that would do the dirty work for them, that would, put them up and make them compete with the likes of City Oilers, KU Titans, and the rest. But, in sports, there's what they call transfers. and players are looking for lucrative deals here and there. So for Canons, they actually lost most of their prolific players. If you look at the UCU Canons, they lost Titus to UCU, to City Oilers, I mean, and then Fayed as well to City Oilers. And then if you look at the Lady Canons as well, they lost some very prolific players. People like Roseko actually went to Morocco. Then people like Agatha, they left. She was in the basketball qualifiers of East Africa in the national team side, and she was the second player from the UCU Lady Canons side to be in that team. So that tells you a lot. For a player to be in the national team and you lose them to another rival in the league, it plays a lot about how you're going to succumb to the season. So for Canons, I would say that basically they lost prolific players and the revamption wasn't the best. They went on to sort of bring new talent on board. If you look at the new players they have in the system, people like Jimmy or Tim, those are actually new players in the system. And for me, that goes back to the sort of the theme of the UCU basketball program. I feel like it's meant to maybe, raise young talent, raise new players. It's not actually, it doesn't look like a team that's ready to revamp. Like in football, when a team loses a player, they sort of look for an alternative for them. But for UCU, actually what happened is that when they lost the prolific players, they didn't make the sort of equivalent substitutions or revamption for them. So I think that caused them a lot in the season. And look at players like Peter Sifuma. In the previous season, I felt like he was always on the shadows of Titus and Fayed. He wasn't that top performer, but now this season, there were 1 or 2 games where he outperformed. Like he had to come out and be that top guy of the team, and that wasn't very easy, And new young players, people like Carrera, those are new young players in the system. They had to, hold the mantle because of the loss of the other players. So I think basically, for UCU to move on from this, I feel like it's a big lesson they've learned. They need to, treat their caliber in the league as a top-tier team and a top team in Uganda, and for a top team to perform consistently, they need to revamp accordingly. If you've lost some player, substitute him. You look at KIU Titans. There was a player in JKL Dolphins called Amisi. I think he's not a Ugandan. He actually went to KIU Titans, and I think this season KIU Titans was a problem for the Canons. Yet in previous seasons, it was something, it was a walkover. So you see such things. So teams, as you're not revamping, other teams are improving, even in Deje. If you look at the table, I think even Deje University finished top of UCU. Yet in previous seasons, UCU would be top ranks ahead of them. So I think it's basically about how you manage your team. If you've lost somebody, replace them, All
right. You mentioned Titus and Fayed. And Emma, I'd like to bring this to you. Is it that our system is giving too much attention to players who have come out, and we are putting certain people on the bench, not getting playing time? For example, he's mentioned how Peter Sifuma stood out this season. So do you think that there needs to be a system that discovers certain players who are in the back line, such that when the cream is taken away, we have where to start from?
Yeah, actually, I love the question you posed to me. I can confirm to you that different systems are in place to ensure that we have all the players get playing time, and those who are really so exceptional always come through for the team and see how they can lift up the team. But I can confirm to you that the atmosphere within the university hasn't been that favorable, and it's what has been letting our performance down. But as time goes on, of course, we are looking at all the different measures and avenues to see to it how we can revamp back the team and get the team back on board to compete at the national level, to go back to the very destination where we used to be. Because it saddens me also seeing the team struggle in the position that we're in, but management is not sitting. Management is working tirelessly and effortlessly to see to it that the team gives the best as it has been giving.
Fair enough. All right, let's cross over to the Uganda Premier League. Certain funny results. We saw Chitara FC edge past Villa, 2-1, but the goal came in the very final minute. We also saw Vipers managing to steal a win. Narrow, you'd say, for a certain Viper side that has been buying players from all over the world, but fair enough, it's 3 points. We saw a goalless draw from UPDF and what was that? The Maroons edged past Wakiso Giants 3-0, another very clear result. Ronald, could you just relay for us which sides seem to be stepping up this season? Because we are seeing Vipers starting the season off with a 2-1. We'd expect them, another season is fresh, start with a huge boost into the season. But now we are seeing sides like Gaddafi pulling strides.
Well, the Uganda Premier League, as it's known, it's back. And basically, I think Vipers still has that, that zeal and mantle that teams need to break. But again, talking about the new lads, the new team, Kitara FC from Hoima, I think Kitara FC is actually a very organized team at the moment. You look at the players they signed. They tried to bring all those experienced players from different clubs in the league, people like Micho, they brought him in. Then the top scorer of last season in Big League, Dennis Omedi from Boma FC in Masindi, they added him in. Then people like Frank Tumwesi Zaga, they got him from Vipers as well. And then several players, people like Benjamin Yakojo, they got him from URA. So I think Kitara actually is a very strategic team, And the strategy that they came in was, to try to have a team that's experienced. Where do you get the experience? You get them from the teams that are already in the league. So I think Kitara is here to stay, and I was actually very impressed with the way they scored the first goal against Villa at Wankulukuku. That little touch by Dennis Omedi that put them ahead in the 15th minute before Charles Wanga equalized, And then later on there was an own goal in second half towards the last minute where they sealed off that remarkable win for them. Yeah. And looking at Vipers, Vipers as always, they have a solid team despite the fact that they've lost their Brazilian dynamites that people were very much anticipating for, But they still have Milton Kalisa, they have Abdul Umala who are still doing well.
Yes,
and actually the Mauritanian international scored for them, that second goal against that ginger-based side. So maybe I would talk about URA. URA also looks to be having a decent team. They signed in Moses Aliro and several other players. They have Semuju on the wings and a very good player from Busoga United, Laban Tibita, who actually made his debut for Uganda Cranes against Niger. I think URA also has a very steady team, just that, Uganda Premier League is sort of a bit competitive as well these days, And I think I expect URA Vipers to be the top side, though Kitara FC is a team to watch this season.
Right. Emma, he mentioned URA failed to collect taxes on the opening day. It was a goalless draw against UPDF. And we are not seeing those kind of results that really show the title contenders you'd expect to be up there. So give us your take on the Premier League, and whom do you think is going to stand out by match day? Should we say 8 when the table has stabilized?
All right, so my thoughts on the Premier League that is back. First and foremost, kudos to the teams that managed to grab wins over the weekend. And going into match day 2, of course, where my favorite team will be playing, that's KCCA. We'll be back from continental football. Just as Ronald has said, I'm going to agree with him on a few areas here and there. When you look at a team like Kitara that managed to grab a win from Villa. Of course, Villa is an experienced club that has a couple of players who really play top football. With an experienced coach, both the new foreign coach plus the assistant who was from KCCA Moli. And weighing both teams, of course, I would be rooting for Kitara, of course, to pull out that game, based on the fact that they have most of the experienced players, as Ronald has said. Brian Ahebwa from KCCA, Paul Muchorezi from Vipers, and looking at Benjamin also from URA, who was once one of the best defenders we had in the tournament. So that kind of experience, and having the goalkeeper from Dumparaka, having that kind of experience really gives them much hope as they come into this season. And of course, when you also look at the newly promoted side, that is NEC, this is being their maiden season into the Premier League, and also hosting the newly promoted side back from the big league, that is Mbarara, and them going away and pulling that win means a lot for them. Of course, NEC, I've looked at NEC, there's also a player from UCU, that is our former captain, Yeah, former captain plays for NEC.
Defender, right?
Yeah, the defender. Yeah, plays for them. That is Sharif, plays for them. And I was so happy to see that they managed to pull that win. Of course, struggling Vipers after losing the continental games and having to release their players. I think there's some bit of disorganization in the camp, and but I trust that Mulindwa is going to help shape back put the order in the room, because losing all these players who have come and have literally played not more than 3 games, and that's all resources going here and there. But having Milton Kalisa back on the score sheet really means a lot. Remember, he's our best player right now we have in the country, having the award, and him being on the score sheet means a lot. So a couple of teams are coming up. Of course, we saw that goalless draw of UPDF, but signings have been happening here and there. We are seeing teams hiring foreign coaches, and teams like KCCA bringing in foreign players and foreign coaches. The whole technical bench is foreign. So we hope that there's going to be a huge competition this time around in the Premier League, and I do not want to underlook any team, because we saw how Bull shocked us in the 8. In the Prisoner 8. Yeah, so there's exciting football coming up this season. Yeah, but of course, I'll be rooting for Vipers, KCCA, and the team to watch is NEC.
Then maybe to add on, maybe to just give a submission on KCCA. Given the fact that they are playing on the continental level, and let's say they manage to, progress to the group stages, I think actually trying to manage the league will be a tight one for them. Given the fact that they've lost several prolific players, the players they had last season. And right now, as we speak, actually yesterday against Abu Salem, the Tunisian side, it was Achai who captained the side, a very unfamiliar person in that role. So I think KCCA might have a really, long ride this season.
Yeah. Right. Okay, maybe just to embark on what you're saying. Of course, we lost a couple of players as KCCA. Most of our players, we released them. We released about up to 8 players and sent about 2 on loan. And once management comes and has their plans and you're not in their plans, definitely they'll let you go. So when you look at our squad right now, our squad is characterized by very few experienced players, of which we hope that as the season goes, our new coach, Tragil, will obviously put into consideration all the different leagues, competitions that we're going to participate in. And I'm very sure that the team is geared up to put up a very huge fight ahead of all these competitions.
All right, so time will tell. Here at UCU Focus TV, we'll keep monitoring the situation around to be able to see what team rises up. Only time will tell. We're now going to head for a short break, but when we return, Coach Micho was fired and your international sports after the break.
You are watching UCU Focus TV.
We are going to put the 25th Guild government in your pocket.
For us to go further, we ought not leave anyone behind.
Everything that is finance related will draw students away.
And that is why we are going to look for gaps where the Guild government can step in.
I don't respect suits. I respect the acts of the people in suits.
The MP, in his right sense of mind, is supposed to follow up.
Can you imagine I'm going to the university? Hey, I can't wait to experience the freedom that comes with campus life.
When you're going to Akuze, I want to marry her.
So you've given up on that dream already?
It is the only person that could possibly understand my pain.
Joke about anything else, but not one of my sisters.
Please give me excuses. Let's go!
At least we still try to look like the guys who are in the group.
Hello guys, welcome to yet another episode.
Sports Focus is what you're watching.
Local, national and international. I'm joined by Micho, a global podcaster.
It's a win for the Ugandan football and the African football.
A sports content creator.
It's just a subject of clubs agreeing.
And hopefully we'll have an interesting final.
You're still watching the Sports Focus.
You're still watching the Sports Focus on UCU Focus TV.
Welcome back from that short break, and of course in this segment we are joined by Winter Walter, a seasoned sports reporter here at UCU Focus TV. Let's get into it. We are going to talk about rugby. Winter, UCU was out in the rugby sevens, and please just relay for us some of the results that managed to come through.
Yes, thank you very much. On Saturday, we had the third installment of this year's university circuits, and UCU unfortunately was unable to win this one, but we played 3 matches in the pool. We lost our first 2 matches to Makerere and to Victoria University 36-10, Makerere 17-7. But we were able to make light work of Eastbat and we beat them 41-5. So we really didn't get much from this circuit, but the good thing, they will continue being more and maybe we could win it just like we did last year.
All right, let's cross over to Coach Micho was sacked. FUFAT president has been trending on Twitter for some time. Moses Magugu, with other people asking him to step down as well at the same time with Micho. So where exactly, first of all, is the problem in the national team? Is it a coaching problem? Is it the players' problem? Because we've seen some clubs trying to venture into buying quality coaches, other clubs venturing into buying good players. Where do we cut our edge as the national team? Ronald, let's start with you on that.
Well, for the national team, Uganda Cranes, I think first of all it breaks down to consistency. If you look at the group stage, the African group stage, we had Algeria, we had Tanzania and Niger. And all odds were out of Uganda's favor, basing on the fact that we had to host all our home games away. You know, we hosted Tanzania in Egypt, then we hosted Algeria in Cameroon, you know. Uganda's qualification, I would say qualifications road looked lame from day one because of that sort of phenomenon. The fact that we needed to use other countries to host our home games, it was already a disadvantage to the Uganda Cranes, you know. Because the fact that Uganda beat Tanzania in Dar es Salaam and lost 1-0 to Tanzania in Egypt speaks a lot about, you know, about the disorganization the national team had. So, you know, Micho was sacked because he's he holds the mantle of the national team where if they don't perform well, he's the man to blame. But actually, if you look at the national team, it should be like a collective sort of blame. Because even FIFA has a reason. We have a reason to blame them. Because if the national team can easily get points at home, why don't you prepare the stadium on time, you know? Why do we need to borrow stadiums in Egypt and Cameroon, yet we just need minimum standards of CAF?
Playing home games away.
Exactly, playing home games away. So I think for Uganda, experts will tell you that they saw their disqualification coming because of the stances that were around them. Because Tanzania played their home games in Dar es Salaam. Maybe Niger and Uganda, actually, they're the teams that, you know, they didn't qualify because both of them, the national stadiums got banned by CAF and they hosted their games away. So that speaks a lot, by the way, because had Niger, let's say, qualified in the group, someone would argue that, you know what, now, these things don't apply. But the fact that Uganda and Niger were the second and last consecutively in the group tells you a lot about the home advantage stance that teams have. So for Uganda, I think it's a collective blame. Micho has left the job due to the sacking because he's the man that holds the mantle of the national team performance, that if they perform badly, it's him to blame. But the national team problem, it's actually a collective problem that FUFA itself, if Uganda had very independent systems, actually I would advise them to go for recess and let a new team take over for like 2 months and, you know, see a new system here and there. So for Uganda, it's basically a collective problem, and sacking Micho was inevitable because he bears that mantle of the performance.
Yeah.
But again, moving forward, I feel like Uganda Cranes need to like sort of incorporate a former international player. You know, people like Andy Mosigwa that have been around, you know, people like Mujib Kasule, you know, they can come in as interim basis, not necessarily permanent basis. Someone can come in interim basis and, you know, lay some sort of foundation. And we see, you know, because you cannot tell us that we don't have good local coaches. When you don't try them, we need to try these guys for interim basis, 5-month contract, 6-month, or even a year, you know, and we see how they move around with the players.
And that's where I wanted to bring in Winter.
Yeah.
Where does FUFA come in this? Because we saw FUFA put out an open invite to any interested applicants to come and occupy some of those positions at the helm of the national team, the coaching staff. Are we supposed to put out those open invites? Because we've seen with most national teams, for example, one time, very recently, sometime last year, Brazil was being linked with Pep Guardiola after his role at Man City. So we see national teams identify a need and look for a specific coach. On the other hand, we have FUFA that's putting out an open invite for anyone who is interested to come and take over the job. But also, he has raised the question of old players in the team. Yeah. How best can we do that? Because we've seen it work for some teams, we've seen it not work for others. Like we've seen the spell of Lampard in Chelsea has been one to forget. And on the other hand, we've seen some old players. Look at Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, and he's doing really well. So how best can we strike that balance?
Okay, I think first of all, FUFA is really not doing a great job with everything. If you're to look at the football infrastructure, because we are talking about winning national team matches, but do we really put enough in, let me say, developing the youngsters and providing them with platforms? And this is not just tournaments, but this also goes down to the infrastructure. The infrastructure used. We were using St. Mary's Stadium previously for our matches, and it's privately owned. It's not even for the country. So if we are not able to put in place these structures, and it's not just the stadiums, it could be gyms, it could be rehabilitation centers. All these things are
accommodation centers.
Exactly, for when the team comes and they camp. All these things are really non-existent. We have the ones that are there are substandard. Like, let me say, Njeru Technical Center, it's you can't say that it is at the global or even a continental level. So FIFA has failed on that part, and also putting out an open invite for applications. It's not really a good look for us, because it kind of shows that they are not really trying. You know, yeah. They need to look for a coach who has a specific philosophy to what they want, or maybe someone who is good with dealing with youngsters, or with whatever they want to achieve for the team. They have to look for someone in that capacity. But now when you're to invite people, it's not really a good look. And in the past, you've seen teams, let me say, like how Chelsea hijacked Graham Potter from Brighton. Although it didn't work out, but this is something we see happening. You approach someone you like, you give them a proposal, and you work with them. Yeah. So I think that would be a better approach to me than advertising, making it an open invitation. And also the issue of former players, I am open to that, because we have Ibrahim Sekaja. He's working well with New York Red Bulls, the second team. So he's that side, and he's gaining experience, and he works with a lot of youngsters. He has helped boost a lot of young Ugandans like Steven Serrada, who currently plays that side. So there's this issue of, to some people it doesn't work, to some it doesn't. We have not tried it, so we can't really say that this has not worked for us. You get? So I feel like if we give these people a chance, it could potentially change it. And if the players, I think they would also understand the players better, because some of these, they've been around for long. They have experience. Some of them have played in AFCON, in CHAN, Sekafa. So yeah, I feel like that's
to add on what Winter said. You know, you're talking about the open invite. I feel like it's a shy move, because given their performance and their status now, a shy move is the best option they have. You know, they cannot come and tell us, the country, that, we need to get this person, we need to get Harvey Renard sort of guy, First of all, people are going to look at the money you're going to pay him and what you're bringing on table. Now, for Micho, people are looking at the money that he used to receive as a coach and the work that he was putting on table. And when you try to make a correlation, it was uneven, you get. So I feel like the invite that you've talked about is kind of a shy move, sort of that I personally know that they have the person they need, the type of person they need for that job, but they're making a shy move, to create a neutral ground, you get, to everyone. So basically, I think that's a shy move.
The FUFA is trying to avoid a big player contract.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right. Now we'll cross over to international sports. The one place that no one wanted us to talk about because everybody had a bad weekend, apart from, of course, Manchester City. But we want to talk a little bit about it. Let's look at Arsenal skipping past Everton. It was narrow, 1-0. Looking at that Arsenal, that was the second in the Premier League last season. And then Everton, that was almost, some said, should have been relegated about 2 seasons ago. We expected a bigger win. Nonetheless, it's 3 points. Chelsea failed to break through Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium. They were just too hard. We had one hit the crossbar. We had one disallowed for offside, but nonetheless, it remained goalless. We also saw Manchester City managing to pass through West Ham. Easy for them. They always find it 3 goals and more. But generally, there has been this whole discussion. I want us to center the discussion a little bit around Manchester United. Looking at some of the changes that they made, most of the wingers currently are out, and you have a certain goalkeeper whom some are saying should be playing number 6 or something like that. Winter, where do you see the challenges coming in for them? Where are the gaps? Some people are saying the missing wingers have brought the vacuum. But looking at the kind of squad Manchester United has, you think that one Anthony leaving should not cause the club to struggle. Anyone can cover up because it's quite a big squad. Where are the challenges coming for Man U?
First of all, with Man U, I have loved Ten Hag's man management because he has been involved in a lot of scandals with players, but he has actually managed to handle all of them, all the way from Ronaldo to Greenwood. Maybe not that much wasn't so involved, but then now with Sancho and then Anthony and all that has been happening off the field, he has been so good in man management, even removing the captaincy from Maguire, who really didn't deserve it. So he has been good in man management, but then on the field, not so much. I really don't know where their problems come from, but I could say it's probably a spell because, of course, they have good players, they have quality players, they have Rashford. Bruno Fernandes was involved in a 9-goal thriller during the international break, so they have people who can actually play. But then you see some players like the likes of Casemiro. He's really past his prime. Rashford, I don't really think he's that much of a supplier, and much as he's a goal scorer, a winger should also help his striker, So maybe it's a dip in form, and I hope it's a dip in form because he's really a player I like. But I believe they'll come out of it. I hope it's just a phase, because they got the striker they wanted. He hasn't really been given time. He has only played one full match, so you really can't judge him from that. Rasmus Højlund. And they got Amrabat, who is unfortunately injured. They got Onana, the goalkeeper who they wanted, though his performances have been underwhelming. So it's probably just a spell, but I don't see it getting better anytime soon.
Ronald, just stand a minute. What's with all these teams getting the players that they want and failing to get the results that they want? Because if Bailey echoed his voice about a certain player, surely the player came through. He got all the players he wanted. If he wanted Caicedo came through. If he wanted Nicolas Jackson, he's gotten all the players he wants, but he's failing to get the results he wants. And we've seen the same for Man U. If they've needed a player, the players come through. If they wanted one out, he went out. What is the challenge?
Well, I think players sometimes need time to adapt to systems and different philosophies of coach in a club. But again, for Man U, I think the problems of Man U, they're very open and clear. if you always watch their games, you can actually see their problems. First of all, they have defensive issues. You get. If you look at Man United's defense, look at people like Lisandro Martinez and Lindelof. I feel like that partnership right now, it's not very... It feels like Lisandro and Lindelof actually don't speak on pitch. If you look at the way they perform their roles, Martinez actually sometimes forgets his position and leaves the goalkeeper wide, you know? So I think the players need to really adapt and, you know, sort of play together as a team. Because if you look at the goals that Brighton scored United, a case study of Welbeck's goal, that was a very clear open goal that... Where was the defender? That's the question you ask your head. What was Martinez doing? He paved himself away from the striker, and actually, you know, he was... I don't know. Someone can wonder what he was trying to block at that position. So I think basically the defenders need to really up their game, especially Lisandro Martinez and Lindelof, given that they're right now doing the partnership. I feel like those two need to up their game. And then talking about Diogo Dalot, I think Diogo Dalot is another player that has issues. He's a player who looks actually very busy on pitch, but if you look at the work he's putting on table, you may find he's just 10%. Because this is a player who plays every game, but you struggle to look at the chances he's creating. Most of his crosses are wide. You get? These are some of the problems that the team is having. This is a player who will look very busy on pitch, running here and looking... The camera guys are giving him close-ups. You might think he's the man of the match, but he's literally doing nothing. He's not giving any crosses. You're not creating any chances. What are you doing on the right back? So I think some of these problems zero down to individual players that are in the team right now. Look at Casemiro in midfield. I don't know what has happened to him this season, but his clinicalness has reduced a lot. He's not so clinical like the way he used to be last season. And again, talking about players needing chances and time to perform better, I can give you a case study of Farouk Mia. Farouk Mia, when he left Vipers and went to Standard Liège, I feel like Standard Liège weren't very, patient with him. They wouldn't give him a lot of playing time, so they kept on loaning him out. They first loaned him out to Royal Mouscron in Belgian League, and then they loaned him out to Azerbaijan with Sabail. And then when he came back, they didn't give him any chance. They sold him out to Croatia, HNK Gorica. Actually, the Vipers sold him out for 400k, and they sold him to HNK Gorica for 100k. So they actually lost 300k. But do you know how much HNK Gorica sold him to Konyaspor? They actually sold him for 1 million euros because they gave him all the playing time, and the player sort of, familiated himself and adapted to the system, actually started scoring goals. So sometimes I think players need playing time. For Yulman, the Danish striker, I feel like you need more game time in United for him to score. He's sort of a box goal scorer when he gets those chances in the box. And those chances that come in the box need to happen when you have good deliveries. When you have people like Dalot who are, they're not doing their best, it becomes an issue to United.
Right, you mentioned...
Just something small. Do you think the wing, also the attacking wingers like Rashford and now Anthony is not really there, but do you think don't you think they should also be helping Højlund, because it's not really the right back creates chances, but the right and left wingers should create more?
Well, I think Rashford, as you said earlier, he has I don't say he has a sort of deep form something, because I feel like Rashford will always score when he gets those chances, and he always tries his luck. Because if you look at the game against Brighton, he actually hit the bar. You get, so Rashford always tries his chances. That's just that. The problem with him is that sometimes he wants to be the one to score all the goals.
Yeah.
But now the fact that Yulman is going to come in, I feel like sometimes he needs to surrender and serve and assist. Because if you look at Rashford, the way he comes on the wing, the moment you give Rashford a chance, you will not see the striker. The moment he sees that you've given him chance, he's going. If you look at the goal he scored against Arsenal, basically he came from the flank side, rotated into the box, of which had he seen any striker, he wouldn't serve that ball. He was looking for space to shoot, which he did, and he scored the goal. So that's Rashford for you. And I feel like he just needs to adapt more with the player. And the right back I was talking about, because when you have a striker, you need more deliveries, and obviously these days wingers don't have tendencies of bringing all deliveries. They want to cut in the box and score goals themselves. Not like the all-day wingers where they get the ball at the flank, they cross in. The current modern-day wingers want to cut into the box and actually, if not serve a close pass or score themselves. So that will go back to the right backs to actually bring those deliveries for a striker like your old man to score goals, because he's actually very good in the air as well. So I think you will count on that.
Yeah, our time on the show is fast spent. But we had some results also coming across from other leagues. We saw in Italy the Milan derby going 5-1. And of course, Inter Milan, who in the Champions League final last season, went past their opponents, AC Milan, who will also be taking on Newcastle. What a boost that would be for Newcastle going into the Champions League group stages. Group stages rather. We've come to the end of this show, but of course, the hashtags on Twitter are Focus on Sports, which stems from the name of our show, and of course, My First Year, a film by Brian Kabogoza, that premieres on the 29th of this month down at the Nkoyo Multipurpose Hall. So do make a date with us as we head over to premiere that movie. That's about 2 Fridays from today also. And of course, as we leave, I take you back in time to look at one of the clips that made rounds here at UCU. And of course, my producer will give that to you. Otherwise, from me and the entire panel here, till next time, have yourselves a lovely week.
You are watching UCU Focus TV.
Just put it with power.